Okay, so we have here another species, parasitic species under cestodes. We have the Hymenolepis species, namely the Hymenolepis nina, nana, and the Hymenolepis diminuta. Okay, so we'll discuss first Hymenolepis nana or dwarf tapeworm. Okay, dwarf. For you to remember this one, nana, okay, change that to nunu. Okay, so maliit. Nunu, kaya dwarf, maliit. Okay? So, diba, madali lang. So, this is a parasite for both birds, mammals, mice, and rats. Rodents are also capable of transmitting the disease and take note, wala siyang intermediate host. So, lahat ng yan, they act as definitive host. Okay? So, the term for the parasitic infection of Hymenolepis or the minuta is Hymenolepiasis. So, this is found worldwide, often seen in children in which sanity in countries wherein sanitation and hygiene is inadequate. Okay, so sa mga children, kasi hindi naman sila um, aware pa dun sa importance of hand washing and sanitation. Okay, so this is transmission, mode of transmission that is ingesting fecally contaminated food or water, okay, with dwarf tapeworm eggs. So it's the dwarf tapeworm eggs. Okay, so eggs din yung kanyang infective stage. So by touching your mouth with contaminated fingers or by ingesting contaminated soil, okay, as long as these are contaminated with tapeworm eggs, okay, or even arthropod, okay, with the egg. Okay, so as proglottids matures inside the intestine, this segment break off and pass in the stool. So even if the parasite is still within the intestine, it is capable of um, disintegration, okay, or breaking. Okay, so and it passes in the stool. Okay, so this is one of the unique characters of Hymenolepis nana. Okay, habang nasa loob pa lang yung proglottids, it can break off, releasing the eggs. That's why auto-infection is possible. Okay, so if the proglottids breaks off or break off within the intestine of an individual, it of course, it liberates the eggs. Okay? Lumalabas yung eggs. And those eggs can become adult tapeworm, adult Hymenolepistina. So that is the auto-infection. That's why this is also capable of auto-infection. Okay? So, what else? An adult dwarf tapeworm can live for 4 to 6 weeks. However, once you're infected, the dwarf tapeworm may reproduce inside the body. So this is what I was explaining, that proglottids can disintegrate within the body. So it breaks off even if that is still inside the body. That's why it releases the egg inside, and those eggs develop into adult Hymenolepis nana. Okay, so auto-infection where the eggs hatch in the intestine and continue the infection. So what are the clinical manifestations for Hymenolepis nana? So most are asymptomatic. So if you have seen the trend for the different cestodes, most infection with these cestodes are asymptomatic. Okay, but some of the possible symptoms that is associated with Hymenolepis nana infection is that an infected person may experience nausea, weakness, loss of appetite, diarrhea, as well as abdominal pain. So, since these are the possible signs and symptoms, you can correlate that this parasite, this cestode, lives within the intestine. So, young children, especially those with heavy infection, may develop a headache, itchy bottom, or have difficulty sleeping. So, if you can remember what nematode or what parasitic nematode has the following symptoms also. That is Enterobius vermicularis, yung itchy yung bottom, itchy yung anal area. Okay? That's why for the Hymenolepis nana, it can be misdiagnosed for pinworm infection as well. Okay? can be misdiagnosed for pinworm infection. So we go to the life cycle of the Hymenolepis nana. So once the egg is passed in the stool, it is already infectious. So I already explained this to you, okay? So for cestodes, usually if the egg is already in the stool, that is already infectious as compared for nematodes like the Ascaris and Trichuris wherein it needs to be embryonated in the soil, but that's not the case for cestodes, okay? So once the egg is passed in the feces, that is already infectious, okay? So when eggs is ingested by arthropod or insect, okay, various species of beetles also, they develop into cysticercoids. Okay, they develop into cysticercoids. Na-mention na wala siyang intermediate host. Okay? However, meron siya dito sa life cycle ni CDC. Okay? So, there is a conflict between different references. Okay? So, this one, I got this also from a book. Okay? Pero this one, I got this from CDC, and it says that the arthropod and the, what do you call this one? The arthropods acts as the intermediate host, even the beetles. Okay, so the egg will hatch to become cysticercoid. Okay, so egg ingested by arthropod, the the egg will hatch into cysticercoids, which can infect humans or rodents upon ingestion. Okay, and develop into adults in the small intestine. So again, eggs ingested by arthropods. Okay, arthropods ingest the insect. Okay, or the rodents. The rodents ingest the insect and they become infected, even for human. Okay, if the human ingested the insect, usually mga accidental. Okay, it's the time wherein the embryonated egg. Okay, um there are two possible ways the egg can mature or can hatch to become what? To become the cysticercoid. Okay? So here, nagiging cysticercoid siya. So, human can be infected, okay? Here through autoinfection, okay? Or fecal oral route, even direct from his or her feces, or from insect. Okay? Pwede din from insect. Okay. So, what else? When eggs are ingested, that is in contaminated food or water or hands, the oncosphere contained in the eggs are released. So, remember guys that the eggs, they contain oncosphere. Ito. So, the oncosphere here, it will be released in the small intestine. Okay, that will be released in the small intestine, okay, wherein it will penetrate the intestinal vilus and develop into cysticercoid larvae. Okay, so from oncosphere, it will mature to cysticercoid larvae, and then it will become the adult. Okay? So, upon rupture of the vilus, the cysticercoids return to the intestinal lumen, evaginate their scoliosis, attach to the intestinal mucosa, and develop into adults. Okay, wherein it resides particularly in the ileal portion ng small intestine. Okay, producing gravid proglutids as it matures. Kasi 'di ba, humahaba siya. So, to immature, that will mature, and then it will become gravid proglutids. Eggs are passed in the stool when released from the proglottids through its genital atrium, okay, or when proglottids disintegrate within the small intestine. That's why autoinfection is internal autoinfection, okay? So there is the external autoinfection and internal autoinfection. When you say external autoinfection kasi, the eggs must be passed first in the feces. Okay, so parang lalabas muna siya sa external environment. But if that is internal autoinfection, there's no need for the parasite to go outside the host. Okay? So, kumbaga, magmumultiply siya sa loob. So, that is internal autoinfection. Okay? So the lifespan of adult worm is 4 to 6 weeks, but internal autoinfection allows the infection to persist for years. So guys, it was mentioned that the lifespan only of the Hymenolepis nana is only 4 to 6 weeks. So that is only more than a month. Okay, so madali siyang mamatay. However, because of its capability of internal autoinfection, the infection may persist for years. Okay? So, kahit maabilis lang siyang mamatay, um, the auto-infection, okay, internal auto-infection capability of this parasite, okay, may extend the length of infection in the infected animal or human. So we have here, we discussed the morphology of H. nana. So the adult worm is 10 to 45 millimeter long only and 0.5 millimeter wide. So among the different cestodes, this is the shortest. Kaya nga siya dwarf. Nuno, nana. Okay? So don't forget that one. Neck is long and slender. So even if this is the shortest among the cestodes, okay, um, it has a very long neck as compared to the others, okay? Or in its morphology, the neck is long and slender. Okay, that's why if this is removed, okay, and it passes through the feces, it can also be identified using this characteristic, long and slender, as well as using the size. Okay, if they measure it. Okay, so we have here the scolex, okay, of course, that holds or attaches, okay, the attaches it to the intestine, specifically yung mga acetabula and hooklets. The neck where active cell division happens, okay, forming the different proglottids. We have here immature, mature wherein the reproductive system are visible, and then for the gravid proglottids, you can see already the lateral branches. Okay, so I hope you still know how to differentiate different proglottids. Okay, so the scolex, that is globular cup-like, scolex situated in the interior and has four suckers. So that is one of the characteristics of the different cestodes. They have suckers. Okay, so apat yung suckers nila. But what differentiate their scolex sometimes is the presence or absence of hooklets or yung mga refractile rostellum, as well as how many rows are there. So, it has a single row of 20 to 30 hooks. Okay, so yan. Single row lang yung kanyang hooks. So, genital pores are unilateral on one side only of the segment. Okay, sa one side lang siya. If you remember for the, what do you call this one? The for the Taenia species, okay, not uniformly lateral, okay, not uniformly lateral, but here, one side only, okay, one side only. Si Dipelagium naman, both sides, okay. How about si Echinococcus? Okay, it's for you to remember. Okay, so morphology of Nana, okay, so these are wider than long. So this is one of the characteristic of its proglottids. Mas mataba daw siya kaysa matangkad. Okay, so kaya siguro siya Nana. Okay, kaya siguro siya dwarf. Kaya siya maliit. Kasi mas mataba siya. Okay, wider than long. Parang mas mataba as compared sa tangkad. Okay? So, gravid or mature proglottids are small, very short, 0.2 to 0.03 millimeter long. Proglottids is filled with eggs. Okay? So, filled with eggs daw yung kanyang proglottids. And of course, since these are cestodes, these are hermaphroditic. Okay? So, yun yung pagkakaiba nila sa ibang parasites. These are hermaphroditic. A proglottid copulates with itself or with other segments. Okay, so since that is hermaphroditic, it is capable of self-fertilization. Okay, so proglottids usually disintegrate in the GIT and are rarely present in the feces. Okay, so that is one of the capability nga ng Hymenolepis. Since it disintegrates within the intestine, habang nasa loob pa lang siya, it's very rare for you to see the proglottids in the feces. Okay, so that's why it is also capable of internal autoinfection, but as well as external if the eggs passed in the feces and that is consumed by the infected person. Again, okay? So we have here egg. The egg of the nana is colorless, almost transparent. If you remember, di ba, para siyang itlog na merong itlog sa loob. Ano yung may ganyang characteristic among the different cestodes that we discussed? Si Baliw, si Daipi, si BP, di ba? Si Daipi na baliw, iniisip niya na yung egg is meron pang maraming egg sa loob. Okay? So that it's si Dipylidium caninum. But for Nina, it's only one. Okay? So parang isa lang. Okay? It's for you to remember. Okay? So round to oval has polar filaments. Here, it's not so visible. Okay? That is not stained, but there are polar filaments. Okay? So when shed in stool, they are immediately infective. So that is characteristic for cestode egg. They are infective once they are passed already in the stool. Okay, so they are embryonated and have a 6 hook oncospheres inside the shell. So inside the shell, it has 6 hook oncosphere daw. So sa loob niyan, merong 6 na oncosphere. Shell consists of 2 distinct membranes. So here we have yung external and the inner membrane. So dalawa yung membrane niya. Okay? On the inner membrane, there are 2 small knobs or poles. So here, okay, dito on each end side, which has 4 to 8 filaments arise and spread out between the polar membranes. So, itong mga yan, it has polar filaments, okay? So, it's not so visible here, pero here it's visible, the presence of polar filaments. And that one differentiates the egg of Nana from Diminuta. Okay? So, it resembles Diminuta, it resembles H. Nana. So they are found, Hymenolepis worms are often found in rat intestines. Okay? So, that is a part of their life cycle. So, yun nga, rats. Okay, so when they ingest the insect, the eggs will develop into cysticercoid and it will stay in the intestine of rodents, just like man also. So, pareho lang din. Para siyang um, sa definitive sa kanyang sa man and sa rodent, same yung nangyayari sa kanilang intestine. Intermediate host ang what do you call this one? Ang mga fleas. So, i-delete na lang natin to. Okay? Even though this is from a book, pero let's follow yung sa CDC. Okay? So, let's follow the CDC. So, the intermediate host are the fleas. Okay? So, I hope that is clear. So, the secondary host is beetle, particularly those who consume rat feces. Okay, so both for Hymenolepis and Diminuta, beetle can be secondary host. Okay, so for clinical manifestations, um, wait, let me just check. Clinical manifestations for Hymenolepis diminuta, there is mild gastrointestinal distress, may be encountered, but the infected individuals are most often asymptomatic. So, it's usually parang the same din siya ng Hymenolepis infection. Symptoms are generally mild with occasional bouts of nausea. Minimal abdominal cramps and pain may be experienced by some. But mostly, majority are what do you call this one? Majority are asymptomatic. So we have here yung specific life cycle ng diminuta. Okay? So if we compare both, what did you notice or what do you notice? Okay? So for the Hymenolepis diminuta, it is not capable of autoinfection. Okay? This is not capable of autoinfection because an individual must what? For it to be infected, he must consume, okay, a cysticerci in the insect. So, for the diminuta, that is, when we differentiate it with Nina, that is one of the differences. Okay? The mode of transmission is that the human must ingest the what do you call this one, the rodent. No, not the rodent pala, the insect, I should say, the insect. So parehong pwedeng ma-infect ang rodent and human the same way. Same kay Hymenolepis nina. Okay, so if we compare, diba, pareho lang insect, ingestion of insect. But the difference is that for Hymenolepis diminuta, it is not capable of auto-infection. Okay, so gravid proglottids, it has, as you can see here guys, anong meron? Um, Here, yung egg niya, wala siyang filaments. Okay, absence of filaments. So mature eggs are ingested by the intermediate host, which is the arthropod. Okay, so oncosphere hatch and penetrate intestinal wall, and then that will mature into cysticerci. So rodents and humans can be infected by ingesting the infected insect. Okay, so what is the infective stage? That is the cysticercoid larvae. So aside from that, humans can accidentally be infected through the ingestion of insects, okay, in pre-cooked cereals and other food items. Okay, after ingestion, the tissue of infected arthropod is digested, releasing the cysticercoid larva in our stomach intestine. Okay, so and that will develop or mature into the adult worm, wherein the suckers of the worm will attach to the intestinal wall. So their maturation will happen and production of segments will happen as well. Okay, so what is the diagnostic stage? That is the egg. Okay, egg po ang kanyang diagnostic stage. Okay, so treatment for Hymenolepis diminuta infections is usually the administration of niclosamide, but praziquantel is also a drug of choice. So actually, both lang din, pareho lang yan. Prevention entails cleaning areas of food storage, rodent control, and sanitary practices in food handling and personal hygiene. These practices, however, are greatly curtailed in low socioeconomic settings and in poor countries. Okay, so that's one of the uh, difference of being a poor and a developed country. Okay? Kasi of course sa mga poor countries, syempre mahirap na neglect na yung mga practices because these are not very essential. These are not perceived as very essential. And of course, if that is a poor country, higher din yung illiteracy rate. Okay, mas konti yung nakapag-aral, so mas konti din na educated. Okay, so we have here, in terms of human, we have here two species. Hymenolepis is the disease, diminuta or dinana. Okay, sorry for this one. That should be a small n. So we have here yung nana. For the nana, it has hooks. Okay, so that is arm. Pero si diminuta, wala. Okay, wala kayong makikita. Diba? So it is an arm. For the eggs as well, sinong mas malinis sa kanila? This one, si diminuta to. Okay? So, to differentiate Nina and diminuta, there is a polar filaments. Kung nakikita nyo yan, yung parang may straight. May polar filaments to na visible. Okay? I can see it. I don't know dito sa recorded. Pero it's here, it's visible. There are polar filaments present in the egg of Nina, but for diminuta is wala. Okay? So, hindi ako masyadong nakagawa dito ng kwento. Okay? So, hindi ko pa siya na-translate into English. Okay, pero ito na yun. Pwede na to. Okay, bahala na kayo mag-English. Okay? So, uh, si Nuno, that is Nina. So, we have here Hymenolepis Nina. Okay? Pero, yung characteristic na to is, it applies also to diminuta. Si Nuno ay pandak at mataba. This pandak and mataba refers to what? Refers to the proglottid. Why? Because it is shorter than long. It's wider than long pala. Okay? Mas matlawak, mas mataba as compared sa kahaba niya. It is selfish. Bakit kaya may term na selfish dito? Okay, because of parang it is capable of auto-infection. Wala na kasi akong maiisip. So, parang selfish, makasarili. O sige, napunta na sa kanya lahat ng parasite. Okay? So, yun yung iniisip ko. And mahilig mangopya, kaya tinatawag ding giraffe. Okay? So, bakit kaya? What are we referring here is the neck, diba? It has a long and slender neck. Okay, so nangopya, mahaba yung leeg, diba? That is a term that we use in our school. Okay, ng mga instructor nyo din. Okay, so I hope guys that these stories help you to remember. Okay, actually, even me, mas naalala ko siya. Si Nuno ay pandak at mataba, selfish at mahilig mangopya. Nena, Nuno, maliit, dwarf, tapeworm, long as wider than long ang kanyang proglottids. It is capable of auto-infection. Long and slender ang kanyang neck. Okay? So, kaya siya maliit dahil hirap siyang matulog at nangangati ang kanyang puwet. Nagki-problem with sleeping and itching. Okay? Itching and in the anal area. So, it resembles pinworm infection, di ba? It resembles pinworm. So we are referring to the possible resemblance of symptoms with pinworm infection. And mahilig siyang kumain ng kwek-kwek. Okay? So why kwek-kwek here? So I'm referring to the egg. The egg here, the egg, para siyang merong egg ulit. So parang si kwek-kwek, 'di ba? Itlog tas na balot. So, parang ganun din. Okay? Sinuno na mahilig sa kwek-kwek. Pandak na mahilig sa kwek-kwek. So, yung kwek-kwek here, we are referring to the egg. Okay? Hindi naman kagaya ni Baliw. Sino si Baliw? Okay, yung may dalawa, dipylidium. Si Baliw naman, baliw siya kasi iniisip niyang nangingitlog ang kanyang dog and cat. Okay, at sa loob ng itlog ay may mga itlog din. Okay? So, egg pockets inside. So, this is for dipylidium and this is for Hymenolepis. Okay? So, I hope guys that helps you in remembering. Okay? Wait lang. I will remove this. Paano na yan? Okay, so I hope that can help you, okay, in remembering the different concepts related to the Hymenolepis and the diminuta.